morning. It's another hot wave in New York City, and I'm staying indoors. I'm prudent, and I'm lucky. I have got air conditioning. Goes round the clock, and I guess because I'm in a decent area, my bills aren't all that expensive either. $111 a month for the fan that I use because I have updated equipment in this building. Not so easy for those folks who are in the poorer areas. It's not the first time a heat wave has overcome us. Most of us may recall the heat wave of 1995 in Chicago, when 739 individuals lost their lives to the heat. Now, we don't really know what the numbers are as the extremes are progressing across all our nations. But people are suffering and people are dying from the heat. And the heat becomes more and more extreme. There are ways out of it. One, we can be doing what they wanted to do in 1977. They meaning NASA and all the departments that were in charge of Homeland Security at the time. They wanted to study what were the effects of heat, what were the effects on climate change when the temperature rises 1 degree Celsius to 5. 5 degrees Celsius, none of us will be going outside, and there'll be billions dead. So we can't let that happen, folks. In Singapore, they're being proactive. They're looking at their cities and their rural communities, measuring the heat on the ground and debating what has to be done. How do they redo their architecture for new designs to take advantage of shade and wind? How do they plant more trees? They're going to plant 1 million trees. They've started with 388,000 so far. But they're monitoring their air quality, they're monitoring their heat so that they can make life better for their people. Sure, Singapore is a quasi-authoritarian government. Luckily, it's benevolent, and it cares about their people. We're a democracy, and where are our laws? Every day I read about another corporation having those forever chemicals leaching into the water. Today, it was about St. Gobin's up in New Hampshire that is leaching PFAS, those forever chemicals, into the water. We've got poor water in New Hampshire on the southern borders. People are suffering from cancer. We've got those PFAS chemicals on military bases. People are suffering from cancer. We've got lead in our waters up in Flint, Michigan, and all across probably New Jersey, and in our pipes probably here in New York, and still in our paints. My friend in St. Louis said that when they were burying radioactive waste, they did it near a water table, and it leached into the people's water. When do we say enough? That we'd like to see a non-gridlocked Congress that gives us not only what we're getting now, which is this inflation buster that is high on carrots to pursue alternate energy, but also when do we get laws that make our lives able to breathe clean air and drink clean water? The era of corporate absolute power has to end. There's a good person in the NLRB, Jennifer Abruzzo. She was on the Clean Slate for Workers Committee. I'd like to see her empowered to do more for workers. Not right that Starbucks says they're going to offer better wages to people who don't join the union. In fact, it's illegal, and they should be fined for that. There is so much that is good in our world, so much that we can do. We can offer carrots before we take away oil subsidies, which are $1 trillion a year at least. We can offer them a carrot and say, look, you go back to developing alternative fuels. We'll give you the subsidies back, bit by bit. We can offer subsidies for those developing hydrogen, solar, clean fusion, batteries that use something other than lithium and cobalt, so we don't have to mine, so that we don't have to destroy environments, so we don't have to have people in the Congo saying, yeah, they'd rather make money on oil and gas than save their environment. On the one hand, you're going to get money to live, but you're not going to live very long. So what's the point? Sooner or later, we've got to get off of fossil fuels. We can do it by integrating new technologies with the old. Doesn't mean it's got to be drastic, but all the old coal mines, those can be integrated with solar and with wind. All those folks who reflexively push a button to vote or don't vote at all, your lives are on the line. This year and every year is important. Sure, it's a midterm. Vote for people who will vote to save your life. Why should Americans have a life expectancy less than Europeans? Why should we not have the best health care in the world? We certainly have brilliant people going through medical schools. Poor people in Kentucky suffering with the floods. Where is Mitch McConnell for his state? Instead of blocking legislation by the Democrats because they're Democrats. And this time, I understand, according to Paul Krugman, the Republicans weren't so active against this new bill for climate that's coming out of Congress and the Senate. They didn't vote for it, but they were just a little mean-spirited instead of being just conspiracists, deniers, and purveyors of disinformation. So if Krugman was happy, I was happy, because he's what I call someone who values people. In any case, there's a lot to be thankful for. Next week, I'll be going to the Berkshires. I am looking forward to this immensely. And I'll probably interview my friends who are getting on in age but have seen almost a century. And I'd like to know what he thinks. Ray Gunn, you've seen him before, and he's very active in African American affairs in the Berkshires. He was born there, and he still cherishes it, and he has helped restore the Du Bois homestead and so much more. So I think we'll probably listen to him and collect other stories that I hear along the way. Whether or not it'll debut on Tuesdays, as always, I really don't know. I think because of the heat wave, I'm already in vacation mode, and also reception up in the Berkshires is not really the best. I know for sure there's no reception in Stockbridge at all. So I'll take plenty of photographs to share with you. and tell you how they're doing after the pandemic. Not us when we get rid of the pandemic, if ever, but what's happening to them as they're emerging with the pandemic in their midst. I still intend to eat outdoors and also to wear my mask. So I think perhaps change is in the wind, slowly, but it's happening. Ukraine has gotten 3 more ships out of Odessa, which was the birthplace of my grandmother. So it makes me proud to be part Ukrainian. And those ships are destined for Turkey, Britain, and Ireland. The next ships, and Zelensky is hoping to get 100 ships a month out of the ports. That's incredible because that will help to alleviate famine in Asia and Africa. So my feeling is God bless. Erdogan is going once again to Russia and speaking with Putin. Maybe in spite of all the rhetoric, he'll agree sooner or later, hopefully sooner, to a ceasefire. We know the people support him in Russia, but nowhere else in the world. If there's true famine in Africa, those newfound friends are going to change. Just like the EU has changed to be very supportive of us here in America and very supportive of the Ukraine war, they're also going to be supportive of us in the East and in Taiwan. So I don't think that she, who has an election coming up in China, is into adventurism at this point in time. I could be wrong, but he's got a lot of people in his own country to worry about. Imperialism is not where it's at for him. Russia, that's a different story. So we got to see what happens. Hopefully, the tide will change. I know that there are counteroffensives planned for the southern ports, and I wish the Ukrainians Godspeed and goodwill. And hopefully, they will make Putin feel that it's not worth the effort. Sure, he can go for the long haul, but is it worth it in boys and treasure? I don't think so. And the anger of the world, because we don't need wars, pestilence, and famine all at the same time. And that's what we got when we have to be really looking at climate change. If I can't go out when it's in the 90s, and I'm in fairly good shape at this point in my life, and I've proven it by eating a ribeye steak, which I know is a delicacy, yesterday, and doing quite well, thank you. This was my personal joy to cook it myself and eat it with such incredible pleasure. Then I know most people can't go out either. And this is not a way to live. Semi-isolation, if it's not because of the heat or the floods or the pollution from the smoke and the fires, then we've got other things to contend with. We've got other pollutants in our water and our air. We've got loss of resources, loss of crops. Our world is going to change. Let's make it so it doesn't change so drastically that we all suffer at the same time, cataclysmically. Let's make it a world where we say, We beat that one. Now let's try and do better and make it so it's not close calls all the time, but a way to make people feel that they're worthwhile, that they have dignity and respect, and that they want to live a long, happy life. That's what all my friends want, rich or poor. They want to live a long, happy, peaceful, productive life. So God bless you. And if I don't see you next week, God's abundant blessings to everyone. And I'll see you the week after. It's only a short time from now. And I just can't wait for having fun. Take care, and I hope your day is a good one.